making sure that you have setting up a property manager and having them do quarterly inspections, right? Really doing your due diligence into the people that you let live in your properties, which you should be doing anyway, right? But calling those references, not just giving it lip service, calling references, grabbing documents, and really being mindful about that. And then ultimately here in my area, they're paying market value for the properties, which in this economic environment is challenging for a lot of people, right? So it's just one of those things where the guarantee is going up a little bit more. So within the next 3 to 5, I'd like to get the multifamilies going a bit more and really focus on the Section 8 aspect of it, having now done, traditional renting and housing vouchers.
Welcome to another episode of the Mortgage Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, Gary Taylor, and I got a special guest in here with us today. Really, really good friend of mine, my man Shark. He's not here in the tri-state area, he's actually down in Florida, but we had a chance to link up a couple of months ago, and we shared some stories. And he had something that I really want to bring to this podcast, away from him being in the military, him being a dad, him being a husband. There's some things about this guy that just always attracted my attention to him, man. Even though he's younger than me, he's always been like just a great leader, just someone that just always stood out from the first time I met him. And it's been many, many years ago. I'm not going to say how many years, but I've known this guy for a long time, Damarces Sharkey. He's on the show. Why don't you introduce yourself, man, and welcome to the show.
What's going on? How's everybody doing? Man, that was a good welcome. Normally, you don't do that good of a welcome, man. That was super dope. My name is Damarces Sharkey, real estate investor here in Tampa, Florida. I currently have 3 rentals in this area and my primary residence. No previous experience in real estate actually before this, but a lot of it came from my time in the military. So as he mentioned, I am in the Air Force. I've been in for about 18 years now. So looking to wrap that up here soon. I'm in the reserves. So I spent a lot of my time either doing military, my regular job, but my first love is really real estate. So I've been into that since about 2015, and I just keep actively working to purchase. I try to purchase about a house every 2 years. That's my goal, and that's what we're working towards. So that's a little bit about me. Do it.
All right, man. Appreciate that the official, introduction of yourself, but let's take this thing back a little bit so people kind of understand, how we know each other. And as you mentioned, obviously we met each other in the Air Force. I met Sharkey as soon as he actually joined the military. I was already in. I think I was already like a staff sergeant at that point. And at that time, you were going to school, right? You were still in college.
Yep.
And you was DJ Shark. So
DJ
Shark, you're doing your thing out there, spinning the ones and twos. So let's talk about the early Shark. So when I first met you, what was your inspiration? What were you looking to do in the military at that time? And then we'll bring it up to, where we're at right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I met you in about 2007. I had just gotten to the military 2006, and I ended up moving from New Jersey to Florida. So when I got to Florida, I got into the military, found a unit down there, and that's actually where I met you. And during that time, I just was a young guy trying to go to school, trying to figure out what life was like outside of, living with my parents, and trying to figure out what direction I wanted to go. I really didn't know what I wanted to do at that time. For the most part, I knew I wanted to do look into being a pilot, flying planes and doing that kind of thing. But I didn't really know how to get there. Right. So in the early stages, that's kind of really how you and I connected. I was fortunate enough to have good mentors, right? So people that took me under their wing and said, "Hey, look, you're on the right track. We see what you want to do. Let us help guide you there." Now, along the way, there were some bumps, right? There were some bumps, and there were a few times where you had to pull me to the side and really give me that legitimate mentorship, right? Like, hey, look, man, you're doing what you need to do, but I need you to be a little bit more mindful about these things because it'll prevent you from going where you want to go. And that ended up just having a huge impact on me and kind of setting the stage from going from a young man to being a man on what I needed to do. So that's the background on that.
And that was a tough one because you're away from your family at that point. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you in a totally different state. The lingo is different. People are different. You're in a different unit, and you're trying to figure things out. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I remember those days, man, because even during that time, I was going through a transition myself. Understanding how to be a mentor and not trying to find the ways of just getting in trouble with people, but how to show them what not to do. You know what I'm saying? So they can really, not just with you, with a lot of the young guys that was coming into the unit, of just how to be a true leader and not just telling you what to do, but actually demonstrate, what I'm saying, what it's like to be a leader and how to navigate. And being in the military, man, that's a tough one, especially with you, because you were looking to you went to school and you got your degree, so you become an officer. So Shark started off enlisted, and I was enlisted the whole time. But Shark, I was really proud of him. He got his degree, and he wound up becoming an officer. And you started off as a pilot, correct?
As a pilot.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that. You don't have to get in extreme detail about experience going through, pilot training and, flying aircraft. Like, let's talk about that, especially these days with these airplanes flying and crashing left and right.
Yeah, man. So like you had mentioned, I went to school, and the trajectory was pilot training. So right. I was enlisted, ended up graduating, and then I moved back to New Jersey to get a full-time position. And then I had some people there that kind of mentored me as well. And they were like, hey, look, there's a great opportunity for you here in New Jersey if it's something that you're interested in. You have to do the work, but you can definitely get a start here. So that's what I did. I went back to New Jersey. I got accepted into the pilot program. And then before you knew it, I was off to training. So we did, I went to SEER school. We did the parachute training. And then ultimately I ended up going to pilot training. So I was there for about, I'd say total in that pipeline was about a year and some change doing all those schools. And then it's just one of those things, man, where you have a plan, you can have a plan as best as you want, but sometimes it's just not in your cards.
Right.
So it was a very tough experience for me, actually, because I faced some challenges I had never really seen before, with some people that I wasn't really familiar with. And again, I found myself in a situation where I was the only person there that I knew. And I didn't really have a lot of support to kind of help me go through some of these situations and kind of work on some things. So ultimately, that ended up not working out. And then it was at that time I really started to, contact the people that I met previously to lean on and be like, hey, man, look, my identity was built into that pilot training thing, and now it changed. So I had to really look back internally and determine, so where do you go from here? So who are you? I'm Damarces Sharkey. That's who I am, who was going to be a pilot. But in my mind, I was just the pilot. That was it. That was it. So it took some restructuring, man. But that was one of the bigger challenges that I had. But that really connected me to my support group and showed me that even if you're not around people, man, you're not alone. But you definitely, it was beneficial to foster those relationships and be able to lean on them when I needed them, for sure.
Absolutely, man. And thanks for honestly just being transparent about that story. I know that was a tough one. Even when I hear about it again, it takes me back to when you was actually experiencing those things. But I think the beautiful things about life is the fact that you go through adversity, and it's how you overcome those things. But without those stories, man, sometimes you may not find yourself where you're at now because those certain things didn't happen in your life. And the way you bounce back, man, and that's why I'm just so impressed by you. Like, you didn't allow that to hold you back. Sometimes people get so caught up on the trauma or the hurdle of life. But like I tell my son, man, life doesn't care about your little feelings. It doesn't. And you never know when it's going to introduce themselves to you again and again throughout your lifetime until the day you die. And it's going to always happen. But the thing is how prepared you are for those hurdles. And I know for a fact that it had to come from your mom, you know what I'm saying, your family. So even before you met me, you already had that foundation. Like, yo, you're a shark. Like, let's go. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. The fact that you was overcome that and make it to where you are now. So let's speed this up a little bit. So now you're still in the military. You know, you're doing that part time. He's a major now, correct? You're still a major. And what do you do on the civilian side? I know you could only disclose so much.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, let's talk about what you do full time.
Yeah. So full time, I'm a federal law enforcement officer. So that's kind of what I do. Just a myriad of investigations, kind of fighting crime. So that's always been important to me, is especially after that situation. If we really look back at it, is ensuring that people get the support that they need, and we don't allow things to go unchecked that should be checked, right? So that kind of resonated with me and stayed with me, which kind of pushed me to law enforcement. So I do that on the civilian side, and then now I am out of MacDill Air Force Base, and I'm an intelligence officer over there. So still doing that, and I decided to stay in the military after that little bump in the road, because I saw how important it was to have people that are willing to speak up for you, right? Mm-hmm. And I kind of took a pledge to myself, because I have brothers that are in the military, I have, you know, people that I've grown up with in the military, even younger people. Right. And it's like, hey, look, if you need that guidance and you need that support, that's the purpose, right? It's like, hey, I found out in my growth, it wasn't about being a pilot, it was about being an officer, right? And what does that mean? So I stayed in, and it's been a hell of a ride, man. It's been a good ride though.
That's good, man. So how long have you been in now, Shark?
I've been in 18 years.
18 years. Wow.
18
you believe it?
I can't. When I met you, you were like 21, and now you're like 50 something. You know, it was a while, man.
All right, cut.
Oh, my bad. Yeah.
True, man. It's crazy that because I'm not sure about you, but I always see myself as the young person, and then you realize, like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah,
I'm no longer the younger person in the room, and it's like I'm not gonna lie. I guess I never thought about that, or thought about what our parents thought or what my grandparents thought. Everyone was young at one point, right? And now that, you know, I'm starting to get a little older, I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess I'm officially in OG status. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's cool though. You know, it's to me, if someone called you an OG or a mentor, man, that's a good thing, because if no one's calling you like any type of mentor, or when someone is looking up to you, to me, that's a problem. And I want to make sure that I always position myself so with people my age, older than me, younger than me, respect what I do. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of one of those things. And leaning back to you, I've always had respect for you. I know, you know, a lot of times I give you a hard time because you my guy, but just to let you know, and I guess as I get older, one of those things that I'm doing now is giving people their flowers and telling people how I truly feel about them outside of, you know, how men are, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're trying to get out of that mode and just like, nah, bro, you know, because our days, you know, you never know what can happen, right? And I always want to make sure that you know how I feel about you, truly feel about you and your family, and what you've done, you know, for me in my life, you know what I'm saying? So you've always been a lot to me. And one other thing I want to bring up, you mentioned something about a pledge, and it triggered me to think about something else. So I know you're a Q dog, right? You know what I mean? So let's go on and shout out your fraternity.
Yes, sir.
Go and hear it.
Yeah. So I am a proud brother of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, the best fraternity that was ever founded, and that's not even debatable, right? But that's a big thing. My fraternity plays a big role in my life, especially because of what we hold ourselves to, right? Which is manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. And those things really, they are who I am. And it's great to be a part of an organization where you can showcase that. You can show the importance of it. We do a lot of community involvement. We engage with children, we engage with, you know, older people, we engage with everyone, but with the sole purpose of furthering our community and supporting them as best we can. So that's the pledge that Gary's referencing here. But yeah, that's very important to me as well.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So you keeping yourself busy, man. And so I know you're not in Tampa. Where exactly are you located?
So I'm located in Riverview, Florida. It's a suburb probably about 35 minutes outside of Tampa, southeast of Tampa, just right outside, but an area that's definitely growing and has a lot of potential.
Gotcha. All right. So let's give our viewers what they came in for is let's talk about this real estate. You know what I mean? So that's the purpose of the podcast, is to demonstrate different ways that you can purchase properties, different ways that you can use mortgages to make those purchases. But I like to have people that are actually doing these things. And one thing about Shark, something he's doing that's very unique, and it's kind of a traditional way of getting started in real estate. Not the, like sometimes people go out and get hard money loans and stuff like that. He does it in a very unique way. As you already know, Shark is in the military, and he uses VA loan to get started. So before, I'm gonna let you tell your story, how you purchased your first house and how you turned those homes into real estate investments.
Absolutely. So I purchased my first home in 2015, and I did it the traditional way, right? It was my first time buying a home, first time home buyer. I heard about the VA home loan. So I knew for certain that I wanted to purchase a property, and I was going to do it that way.
Now, was that in Washington?
That was in Washington State. Washington. Yep. That was in Tacoma, Washington, a city just right outside of Tacoma, Washington, but a market that is also has just grown substantially. So they had, at that time, 2015, tech was just moving to Seattle left and right.
Correct.
So it was one of those situations where people couldn't afford to live in Seattle anymore. So they started kind of trickling down to the suburbs outside of Seattle, which is where I found myself. But there's also a base there. So I was working out of that base, and I knew that I wanted to buy the property. So what I did was I went to YouTube University. To be honest, I went to YouTube University, and I really educated myself on the home buying process. So finding those specific podcasts that talk about how to use the VA home loan, how to find a lender, kind of what to do. And then I was able to purchase my first home with the VA home loan. But the key thing about that I definitely want to make sure people understand is there are a lot of misconceptions about the VA home loan and the limits and how many you can have. So I would definitely recommend doing some research or getting with somebody smart like G here about that type of thing, really.
Mm-hmm. That and it's funny because I was going to bring that up in the question, but you already answered that. So what he's referring to, one of the biggest misconceptions that we hear all the time with the VA loan is that you can only use it one time. And that's not the case. Now, things have changed over the years. So at one point, we had loan limits, but that's changed. So the VA no longer have loan limits. But one thing I tell people is you still have to lean towards that lender. There are certain lenders that have limits, and not that you can't use the VA loan, but those, instead of you qualifying for the VA loan at 100% financing, you don't have to put any money down. What happens is once you go beyond those limits for that lender, they may require you to put a down payment. So that's what it's referring to. So your first house, it was in Washington, and then obviously you got orders to make a move. So let's talk about that. So that's your first door.
Yep. So the first door was in Washington, and then it was time to move. So it was time to move to take it back to that Washington home. A point that if you're going to get started in real estate investing, and this is what you want to do, and you plan to take it this traditional route by living in the property and then moving, a recommendation that I have for you is buy below your means. Please buy below your means because property tax is going to go up. But ultimately, if you know that this house is going to be an investment property for you, that also eats into your return, right? So buy what you can afford, buy a little bit lower, so then that way when you move, which is what I did, I kept that property. And rented it out. I managed it myself for the first 2 to 3 years because I still had connections there where I could get that done. And then I bought another home in Tampa, Florida. Well, the Riverview, Florida area, but I purchased it before I even moved, right? It was kind of a sight unseen. So,
right. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it was
all the way in Washington, and you had to travel from Washington to Florida to look at the houses. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. But that takes me to another point that I think is important that we discuss is the importance of actually having a team of people, right? So you can do a lot of things very well, but you can't do everything well, right? So in order to buy that home in Tampa, Florida, I had to work with an agent who was here and familiar with the market. I had some familiarity with the market, but nothing like a professional real estate agent in the area, right? You just can't beat that. So had her as a member of my team. We were doing Zoom calls, walking through homes and seeing what we could find in the areas, and then mortgage brokers, right? The importance of a mortgage broker, right? Just seeing what is available to you, seeing who has the best deals, seeing who has the best rates, uh, but having an understanding of that and not putting it all on yourself, right? So
Right.
just want to stress the importance of that. But then we purchased that home here in Riverview back in 2019, right before COVID hit.
Gotcha. Got it. All right. So how long did you live in that first house?
The first house was from 2015 to 2019, so about 4 years.
2019. So 4 years. Okay, gotcha. All right. So 4 years, you move, purchase your next house. So now you are hitting that entitlement again. So this is where the most misconceptions come in. So he had enough entitlement to purchase the second home. So now he lives in that second home, turned the first home into an investment property. So now he's receiving income. And then, so how did you set that up? Did you you basically went to YouTube University to understand how to, collect rent, put the person on a lease. Did you have any guidance with that? Or you just figured all that out by yourself?
No, so the first one was just completely on my own, right?
That's it. Right.
Yeah, so that one came with a bit of hesitation on my part, because to be honest, once you get rolling, the hardest home that I've ever had to purchase or had to work with was the first one, really. And it was no different than any other home, but it's just the mental stress you put yourself through doing the what ifs and how do I do it?
The fear of the unknown.
Yeah, absolutely.
What to expect, yeah.
Absolutely. But once you get over that hump, it was good. So like I said, I managed that property from Tampa, Florida for the first 2 years. But after some time, the rents in Washington State just kind of shot up exponentially, where my profit, I think I was making maybe $800 or $900 a month off of that property.
Okay.
And it was enough for me I keep that money and I put it back into the home, right? So I have an account where I keep that money specifically, but with that type of profit margin, it was enough for me to go ahead and get a property manager just to decrease my level of stress and involvement on that property, and then to still cover, capital expenditures and vacancy and all those other things that go into the rental property. So from there, I just kind of let that go and let the property manager handle it. And they've been doing that since 2021.
Right. Got it. Okay. So that's your second property, and then your third.
My third property was the power of connection, right? The power of who you know. So I actually purchased that home as an off-market deal. So that came from a close friend of mine. She was moving out of her home. She had to move very quickly for whatever that reason was. And she's like, hey, look, I'm trying to sell this home. Do you know anybody who'd be interested in buying the property? Right. I'm like, well, let me take a look at it.
Fell in your lap.
Yeah, that's it. Let me take a look at it. I took a look at the property. It was a three bedroom, 2.5 bathroom townhome, literally right down the street from where I lived. So another part that's important to me is really structuring real estate and these investments to support my family. I have a lot of family that lives outside of the state of Florida who wants to come and kind of transit here, make their way. And I knew for certain after COVID, it was going to be tough because the market was just going up. So I purchased that property. I actually used a conventional loan on that one.
That was my next question.
Yep. So I used a conventional loan. So I had to put some money down on that one. And that was my first time using the conventional loan. And that's when I really had to kind of scrutinize the numbers. So that was one of those times, I don't know if you recall, that was way back when, and it was like, hey man, I have my closing disclosure, I have these documents, help me understand exactly what I'm looking at, because it was just different from the VA.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's going on here is when you can use the VA loan to, you can never use it for an investment property, right? you could turn it into an investment property, but you can never purchase it as an investment property. So what happens is if you're currently in a VA loan, but you still want to buy other properties, you would have to go either conventional or other loans out there where you could purchase an investment property. You can't use a VA loan for that. And so now it sounds like Shark has multiple loans, so VA loans as well as conventional. So that's where he's at now. So when it comes to comparing the two, it's actually a true comparison now, because one, the VA loan doesn't have any type of mortgage insurance with the VA loan. With the conventional loan, if you put down at least 20% of a down payment, have at least 20% of equity, it doesn't have mortgage insurance either. So at that point, you can truly compare the two, because typically you're comparing a VA loan without mortgage insurance compared to a conventional loan with mortgage insurance. So when you're buying an investment property, you had to drop that down payment. So did you have any private mortgage insurance with that conventional loan, or you didn't?
I didn't.
Yeah, right. Because your down payment had to be enough where it didn't matter. So yeah, so truly you're just looking at rates at that point. So that's the only difference.
Right. So that one was a little bit more strenuous financially because you have to come up with 20%. Right.
Right.
And so I had to come up with 20% on that. And I actually got that 20% I had invested in some stocks and made some funds there. So I was able to take the money from there, in addition to some of the money that I had saved from the other property in Seattle, to purchase that third property.
Gotcha. So that's the third property. And so you're on your fourth property now.
Fourth property.
That's the one that you just purchased.
I just purchased.
Yep. Just purchased that one there. And it's all the same area?
All in the same area. Yep. So house number 2 and house number 4 are in the exact same neighborhood. It's 4 minutes down the street. Right.
Gotcha. All right. So going forward, because it's 2025 right now. So where do you see yourself? Because obviously you own 4 pieces of real estate. So where do you see yourself in the next 5 years as it pertains to you being a real estate investor? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
So that's an excellent question. So what I'm doing right now is I'm actually educating myself on the multifamily route. That is the direction that I want to go. I want to get some multifamily properties under my belt now that I have a level of comfort with single family homes. That's kind of plug and play.
I'm gonna stop you right there really quick. So why I already know why, but what drew your attention to multifamily versus a single family?
Really, it boils down to vacancy, right? So there's a lot of you run into vacancy. So the vacancy is the turnover that you have from when a tenant moves out to when a tenant moves in, and that can vary greatly. So with a single family home, when that home is vacant, you receive $0, zero income. So that responsibility falls on you to pay that in the interim. But with multifamily properties, you can have one side move out and you're still receiving some type of income, or vice versa. So just kind of decreasing the risk associated with vacancy is what I'm really looking into. And then ultimately it's just a bigger gain, right? So the more doors you have, the bigger the properties, the more lenders are willing to give you, because you can show what you can actually do. So multifamily is next for me, because then we can start looking at, all right, we have a duplex or a triplex, maybe we get a small apartment complex, and we just go that route.
Absolutely. All right. So adding in some multifamilies, what else you got on your plate for the next 5?
So I'm actually looking into the housing authority. So Section 8 housing. The property that I have, property number 2 that I just moved out of, I actually put a Section 8 tenant in that home. Mm-hmm. And that was less stressful and more guaranteed than I had seen previously.
I hear that. I'm starting to hear that.
Yeah. So it comes with its fair share of concerns, naturally. But when you really dig into it and you do the research, which is what I've been doing, there are a lot of protections that you have as a real estate investor and as a landlord to help with that, right? So making sure that you have setting up a property manager and having them do quarterly inspections, right? Really doing your due diligence into the people that you let live in your properties, which you should be doing anyway, right? But calling those references, not just giving it lip service, calling references, grabbing documents, and really being mindful about that. And then ultimately here in my area, they're paying market value for the properties, which in this economic environment is challenging for a lot of people, right? So it's just one of those things where the guarantee is going up a little bit more. So within the next 3 to 5, I'd like to get the multifamilies going a bit more and really focus on the Section 8 aspect of it, having now done, traditional renting and housing vouchers.
Gotcha. So grabbing a couple more properties, anything on the commercial end, or 100% all residential?
So right now it's residential. Because it's
about the 5 years, like
5 years. Yep, still going to be residential for now. The commercial side is definitely in the peripheral. I'm seeing that, but like I said, it's about your network and who you know. I haven't come across people within my circle yet who are familiar enough with it where I can have some real conversations and really say that this is something that I'm going to pursue in the next 5 years.
Gotcha. All right, no doubt. And I got to backtrack here, and I feel terrible, and I hope the wifey don't kill me. We didn't get a chance to introduce your family, man. So your wife, the kids, let's hear about the family.
Yeah, so my wife, she is the person that drives me crazy every single day. Oh wait, not that part. Okay. Yeah. So I met my wife
out either. So just so you know,
I'm telling you. So I met my wife back when I first met you in 2007. We were going to USAF. I met her there, so she's my college sweetheart. Been with me through the whole thing from beginning and end. She is a registered nurse by trade. So that's kind of what we do. So as far as that's concerned, she also has her own candle business. Shout out to Treble and Flame Candle Company. So she has her business and she does the entrepreneurial side as well. So she does that and focuses on that, and I do the real estate. That's what we do. And then we have 2 beautiful daughters, a 6-year-old and a 18-month-old who control everything that I do. Yeah, love
absolutely, man. But that's what makes us tick, man. I mean, when you think about it, could you imagine a life without the family being there? And it would just you.
Yeah, I really
remember that.
Yeah, I really can't. And a lot of the decisions that I make as far as investing is concerned are geared around my family, right? That's the reason that I'm doing it ultimately. I know that we'll be able to benefit somewhat from these properties in my lifetime, but ultimately it's a matter of making sure that when my time is up here, that my family has something. My kids have properties. They're able to see what this process is like. So then that way, when it's their time, they're familiar. When it's their time to move, they can do something about it.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's a great way of, I got a lot out of that. The fact that a lot of us, not all of us, a lot of us grew up in a situation when you had to figure things out by yourself, and you've been the first gen, you know what I mean? So it kind of starts with you. But you think back, if this happened a few generations ago with your family buying properties, and when you became of age, joining the military, going to college, and say 1 or 2 of those properties was given to you, I guarantee the house is free and clear at that point, right?
Yeah.
So now you have either access to taking the equity out of that property to do, to invest in companies or start your own business, whatever the case may be. Or if you wanted to move into that property, that would have been an option. So it gives the next generation a lot of options. And so you're not starting from ground zero. You're starting, all right, we already got over $1 million in equity right from the beginning versus giving it to you in cash. Because now you have an option to what you want to do with that asset. You know what I mean? And just having that, it's just in your name right from the beginning. So now you're doing that, kind of playing catch up. I'm in the same boat. We're playing catch up now, but now your family and your grandkids and stuff like that, they already have something established, so they don't have to go through that same rat race that you had to figure out yourself. and just taking it from there. So I'm not sure if that was the reason why you did that, but by me just hearing what you just told me, I'm like, okay, that's a definitely good move, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, it is the reason that I did it, right? And I believe that that's a reason that you and I connect as well as we do, really, because there's a set of values and a like-mindedness that we share, and a lot of it is centered around our family. You know,
Oh, 100%.
we're doing very well for ourselves individually, but that's not really the point, right? So ultimately, hey, we're buying these properties. When my daughter turns of age, she will get a property. She will have one house that goes to her. My other daughter will have a house that goes to her, and it'll come with the income. So you can stay in that house if you want to, but you're going to now work and manage this property, understand what all goes into it, and we're going to do that leading all the way up until they receive it. So by the time they receive it, they know what to do. So I take the time, and I'm very intentional about educating my kids, my 6-year-old at this point, on investments and on a brokerage and on single family duplex, and why it's important to do that, because especially in this day and age, man, the market's kind of rough right now. Jobs are a concern for a lot of people, and it gives you a different type of comfort when you know that you can provide for yourself. And that's what I want my children to walk away with.
Gotcha. Got it. So this is true passive income, man. This what it really means. So I'm definitely excited about the future for you, Shark. And I know that we're going to be doing some things together here soon. I'm not disclosing what exactly I'm talking about.
Don't tell.
But yeah, so we got some things that we're going to have lined up here in the future. And that's the cool thing about it. And a lot of times, and I was explaining this, I was speaking out of high school 2 weeks ago, and I was telling them, I'm like, yo, when you build a network, it's not always just people that you met in business. Sometimes you friends with people, and that turned out to be your network, or vice versa. You met them through working, and they wound up being your friends. And as you continue to build up, you know, those relationships, as you continue to build up those friendships, now you have people you can reach out to make certain things happen. Just like you said, that you had someone you could reach out to in Florida to do some research for you. So without that, you would have to manually do these things or try to figure it out yourself. But now that you have like someone like me, I got someone like you, I could lean on you because you have something that I don't have. So instead of me having to reinvent the wheel, or me trusting what I learned on YouTube, which I could definitely do that, but it's easier if I just get on the phone. Oh my gosh, Shark, like, look, I know that's what you're doing. Teach me, give me, you know, a real quick OJT of how you make this happen. So, because I want to do the same exact thing, and I want to demonstrate the same type of things for my kids and my grandkids, doing the same way that you're doing it, and just excited for you, man. So I'm glad that you came on the podcast to give us your story, your background. I know we could talk about DJing, we could talk about the candle company that you guys own, but real quick, actually, I do want to talk about that. So the candle company, explain to our viewers the difference between your candle company versus anybody else that's selling candles. You guys got a unique twist about what you guys do.
100%. So our business is Treble and Flame Candle Company. It was actually created by my wife. And what sets it apart is 100% soy candles, which you'll find are hand poured, which you can also find. But what really sets us apart is she creates scents, unique scents, and then I create playlists that go along with them. So when you purchase our candle, not only do you get a candle, but you get access to a playlist on Spotify, Apple Music, and Tidal. And the playlist corresponds to the scent that you have. So when you're smelling that candle and it's burning in your house, you are literally, and listening to that playlist, you're getting the exact vibe and the exact kind of ambiance that we had when we were creating the candle. So it connects us to people, especially candle lovers and music enthusiasts, man. We've found that it really has connected a lot of people to us, and it's just been going really well. So if you want to check out Treble and Flame Candle Company, look us up on Google. We are there, and follow us on IG at Treble and Flame, and we look forward to giving you some scent and some sound.
There you go. And then also, since this is a real estate channel, if you're looking to give like a gift for like the home buyer or someone that's purchased real estate, to me that'd be another gift you could throw in there too as a welcome home party. You know what I mean? So I think that'd be pretty dope to do something like that as well. And since we talk about IG handles, you might as well drop yours, your personal one. Now, do you have one separate as a DJ? Or is it all kind of one and the same?
All one and the same. All one and the same. So you can follow me on IG at SharkyD_, and that's where you'll find me. And then if you have any questions along the way, right? If you have some things you want to talk about, if you're in the Tampa area, you need to be connected with some real estate agents. You already have a great mortgage broker here. You know, he does home loans. So if you have questions about that, go to him. That's where I go as well. But if you're in the Tampa Bay area and something comes up, there's my Instagram at SharkyD_. Don't hesitate to shoot me a message, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can.
That's cool that you even, because you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And that's why I like this guy. You know, it's just always willing to give back, and it does help. You know, you have to find different ways to understand how to, make certain plays. And if you could just reach out to someone and say, look, give me the shortcut. How can I get there without getting in legal trouble? What's the best way of making this happen? And just tell me about the pros and cons. And I always like to go to the cons. Like, yo, tell me the cons first. Tell me if it's something that I should get into, or maybe looking to go into a different direction. And I'm pretty sure that Shark can do that. Now, we all know, but you guys don't know this, but he's an extremely busy guy. Shark, thanks for your time, for dropping in. I know we've been trying to lock this down for a couple of weeks now, and I'm glad we had a chance to do that. So I expect to see you to come back on here. We'll talk about some other topics. You know, I love having a co-host, you know what I mean? So let's keep this thing going, man. But just, I love you, bro. Say hello to your family for me. And can't wait to see you next time, man.
Hey, man, I look forward to the invite. Thanks for having me on here today. And then, like I said, I look forward to what we have going on in the future. And
Yes,
again, to you as well, thank you for everything that you've done for me. And that is the reason that I give back, because it took somebody to give and show me how to do it, for me to know, hey, look, this is how the world works, man. You take care of people and people will take care of you. So thank you again for that.
Oh, no doubt, man. All right, that's it for the Mortgage Motivation Podcast. Peace.